camera. I'll be back in 2 secs.
Good evening, welcome to episode 239 of the Brewgooders Beer Comics Assorted Geekery podcast. I'm Jeff. To my right, and as far as we're aware, not a member of the far right, but he is cancelling himself as we speak, is none other than Andrew McGee. And just below us, I don't know why, do you want to be on the same level as us, John? Do you feel like we
No, it's okay. I'll be below it. It's fine.
I feel like I'm the filling in the sandwich now, and I'm like,
There you go.
Good. I'm the power bottom now.
No, I can't show.
Yeah, and in the middle is former Kingdom FM cinema film reviewer and current Topps trading card Supremo, John Grace.
Hello
there. How are we? All right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
We're all so fucking knackered. It's unreal.
I think we're all, like I say, we talked about this just before we came on, because we're all on completely different schedules these days. Like, different start times, different shift patterns, different everything. And it feels like infrequent. It's more and more infrequent that we get together. And when we do, at least one of us is knackered.
Yeah.
Something else to do.
We have managed to keep it going since we started back up again. I know we had quite an extended break over Christmas, but it has been a much more rotating cycle. We're all just so busy, and obviously, I've noticed as well, our interests and the things that motivate us shift all the time. And I know you're back to reading comics, Andrew, which is fucking phenomenal. I'm waiting on a Little Shop of Heroes. You weren't here when I talked about this last week, but I'll bring that up as well. But so we're going to talk about beer comics, sort of geekery. We're going to try and talk as long as we can before John has to go about a wee retrospective on Cobra Kai, because we're all diehard fans and it finished this week. But what beer are you drinking, Andrew?
I've got a Lucas gluten-free Hellas Lager.
From Thornbridge. That's nice.
From Thornbridge, 4.2%. I would need Colin here to tell us why not all beer is gluten-free. That's one of those things I was like, what in there? But yeah.
I'm glad you asked. So if you go onto YouTube and go back to our week 7 of the Brewgooders, episode 7, we have a whole entire episode about gluten-free beer.
Yeah. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to think like
you asked the question. I don't know the answer because we covered it 6 years ago.
I feel like I know, but say if Colin was still here, Colin would be able to tell me. It's like we did a thing about vegan beer as well, and I couldn't get my head around the fact that all beer wasn't vegetarian at the very least, but they talked about the various things that can go into it, which can be derivative of.
I'm pretty sure
gluten.
Yeah, I think it's in the wheat or the barley. It's in one of those two. It's naturally occurring, but you can extract it. I think.
I'm going to say as gluten-free beers go, Lucas, it's not very good.
So Thornbridge is usually all right. I wonder if it's.
It's just not what I want from a lager. I think I've not drank a lot of lager recently. I was sort of called away. I was in Bruges a couple of weeks ago. I was drinking continental European lager, which is just far superior to anything we get in this country because of purity laws and strength things and stuff like this. It was great because I got absolutely hammered on, their normal strength beer is like 6.7%.
Yeah, totally.
and their premium strength beer is 10.2. And this Austrian Belgian lad, an old Belgian man, was having a couple of beers and he was telling me, "Oh, you're on the weak stuff," and I'm like, "Doesn't feel very weak." My camera's gone again. But it's just not as good.
I think it's one of those things like when we do the beer boxes sometimes, and when you get the European beer box, you're like, Jesus Christ, how are they? This is the standard, and we
Yeah.
I'm not saying beer over here is not good, but you notice a difference in in just about everything.
The thing is, most mass-produced beer. And I'm very much going off mass-produced beer of all types. Like I used to be a big fan of Guinness and of Best and of Lager, Carlsberg or something like that. And Guinness now, if you drink a small batch porter or a small batch stout, the difference in flavour and liveliness and everything in it is just it's amazing. And the same goes for dark beers like Best, and absolutely the same goes for lagers. I don't know what it is. Yeah, I think as I got older, I think there's a financial side to it as well. When you're young, it's like the AAS effect. I don't know if he's ever thingied Viz. A character called Ace, and you could get 8 pints of Ace for £1.50. You drank the cheapest thing you could because that's you're growing up drinking in a park, a field. It's beer that comes in a 2-litre plastic bottle. And then you go through a stage of buying whatever you can get by the case from your local co-op, which when I was a boy was Kestrel or Foster's or things like that.
I think specifically Ace is supposed to be Kestrel, if memory serves. Like it was like that was the lager down there that was that price, So
yeah. I remember my dad drinking Kestrel beer back in the sort of 1980s, and again it was like he was a miner, and that would be your Friday night. You would go and get a six pack of Kestrel for £2 or something like that.
Yeah,
and it was only like 3.5%. It was weak as piss as well. It was the thing, but they did do that thing in Ace. In Viz's best friend was a guy called Six Kestrel. They were just named after the beers that they drank. So.
It's mad how much beer. Like I don't consider myself that old until I started working in my current employment, and I'm now like twice as old as everyone else there. But like it's mad. Like we're talking about music festivals, and I remember going to my first Leeds and Reading festival when I was 16, and I remember going and it was a case of Carling was a tenner, 24 cans of Carling for a tenner, and 24 cans of Grosh, arguably the better of the two beers, for £15. I'd be like, why the fuck would I pay 15 quid for 24 beers when I can buy 24 for a tenner? And now it's like, you can't.
Now you buy 5 beers for £10 or something like that.
Easily.
There is a thing to be said for obviously for in this country, and by this country I'm talking about Scotland. You can't do the bulk pricing anymore. They used to there's a minimum unit price of alcohol, so you can't get 24 lager for £9.99 anymore, no matter what it is. I don't think, but which killed cheap beer. That's why maybe you can't get Kestrel and Foster's and things like that, probably because they're too cheap that they fall foul of the Scottish laws. Why would you pay that for 24 cans of
It's probably why
24 cans of Heineken or something like that for the same price.
It's probably what's led to the rise of, I don't know, like I'm sure you could do an investigation. It probably should probably be us doing this investigation as well.
Next week on the Brewgooders.
I reckon like because when we first started the podcast, which was almost 6 years ago now, we had to go to the Caledonian Craft Beer Merchant to get like the beers that we wanted to talk about in the show, and very slowly, and I think lockdown made this increase this more. You started to get craft beer in supermarkets, and it became easier to get a hold of stuff that, to the point that like I remember having conversations with Colin in the Craft Beer Merchant about like how he stopped, why he wouldn't serve Brewdog, and why he no longer would do and you could start to see like Beavertown got phased out. He phased out Beavertown. I bought my first Beavertown and my Beavertown glass in the Caledonian Craft Beer Merchant when it first opened, and now they don't do that because you can go into Tesco's and get it there. But then you can go to Tesco's now and get everything. And I wonder, like what you were saying there about like you now can't get cheap beer anywhere. I wonder if that's led to the rise of craft beer in supermarkets, because
I think possibly, like say, because they didn't. In Scotland, their shelves aren't full of the cheapest beer that you can get. That mass produced three cases. I remember it used to be like it was £9.99 or 3 cases for £19.99.
Yeah.
But then again, I also remember buying a case of Lauenbrau and getting three 180-minute VHS video cassettes. with it. Which, if you had a like a special VHS recorder at the time, John will know what I'm talking about, which had LP long play option. You could double it, get 6 hours of recording on a 3-hour video cassette. I thought it was living in the future.
Yeah.
You know, we were living in the future at that time.
I love my long play tapes. Like I used to like longer a day. Like it's funny now. Like, and again, this is in our conversation I have at work about like how easy kids have got it now. I remember like me and my friend passing around like wrestling videos and passing around. I had a VHS tape that took me 3 or 4 weeks to put together. It was just episodes of The Simpsons.
Yeah,
but it was me watching those episodes of The Simpsons live and pausing the cassette tape during the breaks, so that you know, and obviously now you can you pay whatever $6.99 is, and you can get every Simpsons episode ever, and nobody watches them. You know what I mean? Like so.
Well, that's it. I had a friend. I lived with a guy. I flat shared with a guy. I'm going to confirm it. Back in the sort of 1990s, and he was a massive Star Trek fan. And at that time, like you would get 2 videos would come out every month. So you would get two videos. Each had 2 issues, 2 episodes of Voyager or Deep Space Nine or The Next Generation, because those were the 3 at the time. And his Star Trek collection, because he had all the original series as well on VHS, took up the entire wall of his bedroom. And it was great. And he was like, "Oh, this is going to be brilliant. In years to come, I'll be able to watch every episode of Star Trek." Now you didn't need, if you wanted every episode of Star Trek, you'd have, Star Trek in one box, Next Generation in one box, like that. And that's if you do that. That's if you don't just stream it, which majority of people do. But people invested massive amounts of money. £20 a month he was spending for these 2 videos for 4 episodes.
Yeah.
But under the impression that once they're not on telly anymore, you'll not be able to see them anywhere.
Yeah.
Because we grew up with that fear. John, you'll back me up on this. You grew up with the fear. See if you wanted to see Star Wars pre-VHS, and it was on the TV and you missed it. That was you for 2 years. There was no way to see them in the house back in the sort of early 80s.
Yeah.
Pre-VHS.
Yeah.
I remember them.
You'd have to wait until the next Christmas holidays. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember in 1993, 1994. I can't remember what VHS it was, but I had a Disney movie. To this day, I can't remember what it was, but I had an advert for the Star Wars trilogy, and they claimed on this VHS that they were re-releasing the trilogy, but once and you had to buy it now because once they were gone forever. Like, really?
The thing is, and I'll say this,
well, that version,
it's true.
Because
that version, the original version, with there's been 4 different Jabba the Hutt versions from A New Hope.
Yeah.
From him being just a normal guy with a beard and things like that to really badly CGI'd versions there to the new ones. And then more recent ones, they made changes. They did things, and people are up. People actively seek out those 1980s videos.
Yeah.
Which are close to what you saw if you were lucky enough to see it in the cinema back in the sort of 77 and 81 and 84.
Suppose they were gone forever.
They're gone forever. They're gone forever. But probably George Lucas has got.
Is that what he was doing then? Do you think that was Lucas in 1994, 1995 saying these will be gone because I'm going to fuck
about with them. I'm going to. I'm going to change them. I'm going to change everything. I'm changing ET. That wasn't George Lucas, admittedly. That was like Spielberg or something like that. But I'm changing ET. I'm changing the Goonies. I'm changing Indiana Jones. I'm destroying your childhood. And they're making a sequel to the Goonies. I just read about it today.
Oh, I knew about that. Yeah.
Yes.
Why? Like, I hope it's about new kids.
This fucking Data's a Oscar-winning actor now.
Yeah.
Because the guy,
Josh Brolin, that's it. He was the
Josh. Yeah. Like now, if you do a Goonies sequel, the cast is going to be fucking Josh Brolin, the guy who's like, to my shame. Yeah. Corey Feldman on his fucking comeback tour, his 5th comeback tour of the 2000s. The cast of the Goonies is amazing. You've got
if they can get them all back, but
Sean Astin. Sean Astin's like.
I got for hardly in that movie for the Goonies sequel. It shouldn't be a a movie about adults. It's a movie about kids for kids. Adults should hardly be seen. So I'm not sure what they're going to do about that.
Yeah.
And that was only the second biggest thing that I read about movies today. The first one, Amazon are basically they're now going to be in control of James Bond.
They bought James Bond, didn't they? Or they
bought the studios that made the movies, Eon a couple of years ago. But yeah, they're getting creative control now, which is you're going to go from getting one movie every 5 years and it being iconic and stuff like this to a movie every second year, like fucking Fast and the Furious or something like that. There'll be spin-offs, there'll be Amazon TV shows on Prime, there'll be a mini-series about Q when he was a young boy, there'll be, 008, 006, will get their own fucking spin-offs, and it's just like, let's make an expanded universe. You should just be shot if you use those words. Let's keep a beloved franchise.
Stay tuned for when we talk about Cobra Kai, which is...
They waited 30 years as a thing. They waited 30 years for that one.
They did.
And then were respectful of the source material to a certain extent.
I was going to say,
I'm sure
we're gonna talk about that.
We're going to talk about
that. Okay. Just before we come off the beer chat, which wasn't very chat, I went into Asda earlier today and just to grab a beer and grabbed because I didn't realize. So this is a Williams Brothers, massive producer of beer in Scotland, out in Alloa. This is their Juicy Joker. So Joker IPA is one that we all quite like. This is their New England IPA. Now I bought it because fucking Nipas are like my favorite beer. Anyway, they're my favorite kind of IPA. But also, I didn't realize Williams Brothers did one, so it's all right. It's 5%, so it's sessionable. Like normally, I don't know, like an IPA. My favorite IPAs are between 6 and 7%, and quite danky. And
I was in the pub the other week, and again, it's a wonder that it'll change. But I can go into the I was in Dean King, the Seven Kings.
Yeah,
that one for a bite to eat with the missus at the weekend, and Neck Oil, they do the Beaverton on draft, which is great. So
just remember that. I remember when we first started and going to the old, like me and Colin met with Barry Lumsden and Michael Philp, and went into the Old Inn. And we specifically went to the Old Inn because they had a Beaverton tap. Right, John.
Did you have a nice day? Was that a nice night?
It was eventful. My friend said something funny. My friend Daniel came and joined us, and I was glad he did because I was able a couple of times to be able to just do this.
Really?
But no, it was all right. But yeah, we went to the Old Inn, and specifically because they did Gamma Ray at the time, and now everyone does it. So yeah,
you got a better choice now in most places, so it's good. So yeah, so there's your beer.
Yeah, that's your beer. You've been reading comics. I wanted to talk about that because I had a comic thing that me and John were talking about, and I wanted your opinion on this as a former comic shop owner.
Cool.
So I like yourself have not been reading comics that much. I know you've kind of got back into them. I spoke to the Little Shop of Heroes to try and get back into 2000 AD. Just like, actually, if I subscribe to 2000 AD, there's one a week, and I can't hide from it, and I'm encouraged to read and stuff, and I fucking love 2000 AD, and I love reading comics. But then they were explaining to me that like 2000 obviously I don't know what's going to happen now because of Diamond, but like Rebellion shipped their 2000 AD to America for distribution, and then they come back.
Really?
Yeah. Or at least they did. I know. Is it Diamond's entered liquidation?
I'm not sure if that's Diamond UK or if that's Diamond US. I know Diamond US. Up until COVID, you had to get all your comics through Diamond, and then through COVID, they sort of lost contracts with Marvel and then DC and then Image and things like this, and everybody started going their own way. And it was like, it's like the Sky Sports effect. It's like, they were like, well, you've got a monopoly on them, so that's bad for business. So, but what happens then is it ends up, everybody signs their own contract.
Yeah.
And comic shops have to have multiple suppliers. So if you've got to get from multiple suppliers to get the same comics you used to get from one from Diamond, and there's a minimum order level to get free shipping. Say that's £250, I think it was with Diamond when I was with Diamond. I could do £250 worth of comics from Diamond because it was Marvel, it was DC, it was Image, it was Boom, it was it was everybody. It was easy to make up £250 worth of comics. It's only 100 comics or something. Now, if you're having to make up a £250 minimum order with 3 different companies, it becomes much more difficult.
No, of course.
Now, it might be the case that Diamond UK are still things here because it's a completely separate company from Diamond. The only reason I think Diamond UK were called Diamond is so that they could use the previews, which is the Diamond previews.
Yeah.
Which Diamond US put out, and Diamond UK just sort of jumped on the back of it, and to save confusion, the easiest thing was to call themselves Diamond. And because it was a British company, there wasn't a big deal. I've still got a few previews lying about for a variety of reasons.
They look pretty cool though.
Yes, it's strange if they're they're cool for the artwork, if you like, that sort of thing. It's strange that they would send them to America and then be sent back. That's very strange indeed.
Yeah.
So can you not get them? Is that what they're saying?
I don't know. Well, I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of the business well enough. I was just chatting to Albie and Sinead, and they were like, "Yeah, like we're chatting." I can't even remember how we got into the topic, but it's because it was a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, "I'd like to start doing a subscription to 2000 AD." And Albie was like, "Yeah, it's totally fine, Jeff. It's just going to take a couple of weeks to get that going because of the way that 2000 AD shipped." But they're like, "Well, they'll do what we can, and we'll try and get you. We've got a couple of back issues lying about as well. We'll help you with that as well, just to get you." 2000 AD do that thing it's like quarterly where they kind of reset. Like you'll get one issue that's like they're all either one shots or part ones of a series. So that you've which is good.
It's jumping on spots because it's a weekly. And the stories usually last around 6 weeks minimum. Apart from their standard.
They do like the Judge Dredd summer stories, don't they? But there's usually like one in the summer that lasts like.
You get a reset point. I've got like 1,000 issues of 2000 AD kicking about somewhere.
So do I.
It's a good one to get into. 2000 AD. Like many people, and again, I can see John already nodding his head because he probably doesn't want to say that was the gateway comic for a lot of us in this country. I think especially for science fiction comics, not so much the superhero stuff, but
it's just it's a gateway. It's a gateway for so many reasons, though. And I think that's why I want to go back. Like one of the things I really enjoyed I haven't subscribed for about 3 or 4 years, but like I was picking up every week, so I was reading a comic every week. It encourages you to check out writers and artists and stuff. You'll get when those guys have been on it, I'm a massive Dan Cornwell fan. We've had him on the show, and then he's a stalwart of 2000 AD. Whereas like when we first had him on the show, we were celebrating with him the fact that he was getting to do a bit of work on a Judge Dredd one shot, and he's now just the guy.
Yeah,
and that's amazing. That's one of the things that. It's one of the reasons why we need to redo our poster. Like our banner for conventions, because there's folks that are
artists. They've always been really good at championing British talent. So it's always been from the very beginning, from it being the Wagners and John Grant.
It's good.
Pat Mills. It's always been the royalty of British comics.
It just gets you into things, and it introduces you to these guys, introduces you to like it reintroduces you to folks. Obviously, like they did. I'm actually going to look for the trade paperbacks, but there was a series called The Out, which was like one of my favorite things in a long time, and that was written by Dan Abnett. So like again, like fantastic writer, fantastic comic creator, does a lot for like the Warhammer series as well.
Yeah,
Eisenhorn was his stuff and that. So that's cool. But yeah, what have you been reading?
I've been getting back. Like I know, like long-term viewers and listeners will know that I've poo-pooed comics to a massive degree over the last 2 years. I feel like we've lost things. I do go through stages where I'll jump back in. And I think at the moment the world's so crazy that I've got to a stage where I don't want to watch the news or listen to the news or get depressed. So I'm back in, and I'm back in with the big two. So I've got loads of comics from when I had the shop. So I've just been sorting through book boxes, and I've came across some stuff which I own but I've never gotten around to reading. So this week I'm really looking forward to the new Superman movie. I'm going to say this. I'm quite excited for the movies this year. Just before I go into comic, I'll mention that this is going to be a brilliant reset year, I think, for comics. We're getting a new Superman movie, Batman 2 sort of coming. Daredevil Born Again is
Fantastic Four as well, and
Fantastic Four and Thunderbolts are coming down the line. I'm not excited or enthused for the Captain America movie. I haven't seen it yet. I'll probably get to see it at some point, but not sure when. But certainly, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four. I think was I here when we talked about the trailer? I don't think Ben Grimm looks great.
Yeah.
The VFX of his talking still is a wee bit ropey, but I'm assuming going to work on that. But look, see if you see stills, it's like they've taken a picture from the comics and just
he looks good.
Yeah, as close as it can. It looks absolutely brilliant.
That wee bit we stole. That wee bit we stole for that short's our most watched video ever.
Yeah, 200 views or something like that. So yeah, a new Superman movie, a new Supergirl movie is coming as well, getting made. I'm not sure about the person. I think it's the girl from the Fire and Dragons or something like that, who's going to be Supergirl.
Dragons,
yeah. Which I'm not sure of, but I'm sure they'll work that out. And Fantastic Four and Thunderbolts looks like it's going to be an awful lot of fun. And Sentry's going to be the bad guy anyway. I'm a massive fan of Sentry as a character. He's really underused, and it looks like it's going to be good. So it's a reset year, so I've decided I'm going to get back into it. So I'm reading Earth 1 by James Straczynski. I've got a hold of all the Earth ones, or I've got a hold of the big three Earth ones, so Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. And I'm working through them. So rather than doom scrolling on Facebook and Instagram, I'm reading some comics and enjoying it immensely.
It's amazing.
I love new starts. I love it whenever they sort of relaunch and rebrand. Marvel didn't DC do it every 10, 12 years or something like that. They'll do a relaunch, whether they call it Rebirth, New 52, Post Crisis, things like that. They do it very regularly, and they do loads of Elseworld stuff. In DC, it's massive. So it's always possible to find something new, a new take on an old character. And I think that's what you get when you get a new movie. That's what I'm looking forward to in Superman. Is just a slightly new take. It's going to be a slightly more hopeful take.
Yeah,
rather than the kind of darkness that we had in the Snyder, which I liked, but I'm looking forward to going back to the Christopher Reeves-ish sort of era where it's a bit more hopeful.
It's an interesting point you've just made there about comics doing that quite a lot, because that's often one of the and I think I find myself quite guilty of it as well when we do that whole thing about when they do a recast or they do a reboot and you're like, oh, when they're rebooting Superman again, and you're like, well, actually they do it in the comics all the time, so yeah.
The same guy can play him. I mean, Christopher Reeves played for over a decade. Some people grew up with George Reeves, Kirk Allen, Dean Cain. There was actually a great, on Facebook, try to avoid doom scrolling, but there was a convention happened in the US, and they had almost all of the current or recent Superman actors on stage in a panel. So Dean Cain was there, Henry Cavill wasn't there, unfortunately, but the guy from the Lois and Clark, Brandon Routh was there. Yeah. The guy from what's his name? The guy from
the current
Smallville.
Tyler Hoechlin. No,
Tyler Hoechlin. Yeah.
Tyler Hoechlin was there. I really enjoyed. I can't rave enough about that Superman and Lois TV show. I thought that did a great job of capturing the kind of more hopeful side of Superman. I thought Tyler Hoechlin was amazing as Clark Kent. Good as Superman, but amazing as Clark Kent, for being so he's no slight, but by comparison with the sort of tanks that you see, but Brow's a really, really big guy. Christopher Reeve was a really, really big guy. Cavill's buff as. Tyler Hoechlin was a different sort of thing, but he was really, really good.
I think I was watching some of Reeves stuff recently on a doom scroll, unfortunately, but that amazing where you were saying there about he's a good Superman but a better Clark Kent, whereas Reeves just got them both perfect, and I think it's underrated. Even just his complete change when he's Clark Kent, there's the whole thing about it's clearly him. How does anyone not notice that Clark Kent just looks identical to Superman with glasses? But you look at Christopher Reeves, he hunches his back and he physically makes himself look smaller whenever he's Clark Kent. It's really clever.
He wore the hat, sort of George Reeves style as well. He had the thing with the hat and he would have big square glasses and
it's just being gormless and stuff as well, just to come across
You get actors. I mean, Dean Cain was sort of the opposite end of the scale for me. He was dreadful. He was so obviously Superman had put on a pair of glasses. Just no thing like that. Tyler to a certain extent the same. How people go. I've no understanding of it. But it is possible to be two characters and look completely different.
Have you seen I really like that. Have you seen Mystery Men? The bit where they have the argument in the pub. They're sitting in a cafe arguing about it because it's Captain Amazing is the same as Lance. What I can't remember Lance's second name. But they're like for the last time, Captain Amazing wears glasses. Lance doesn't wear glasses. if Captain Amazing, if Lance was he can't be, because if he took his glasses off, he would be able to see. It's so good.
I think, like you said, that's down to the actor. Christopher Reeves was really good at being.
He believed it though as well. Yeah, you believed him, and he was Superman when he embodied probably to his career detriment, but
it changed. It changed. Christopher Reeve was the sort of touchstone Superman for people my age. He was just so good.
Yeah.
For two amazing movies, one middle of the road movie, and then there was always rumours that there was a Superman 4, but I didn't believe it. I never caught it on VHS or something like that. But
Superman 4 filmed in Milton Keynes.
Yeah, using pre-existing tape from previous movies and stuff. Just really bad, really bad.
It's rough. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Superman as well. I read Earth and Again in preparation for Fantastic Four. I went into Glasgow Forbidden Planet, the biggest comic store in Scotland. They had hardly any Fantastic Four stuff.
Yeah,
and I have a lot of Fantastic Four comics anyway. And I went out, didn't buy anything. Went into HMV and I spotted this hardcover beast. Fantastic Four, Full Circle by Alex Ross.
Oh wow,
Alex Ross.
Yeah.
By Alex Ross, sorry, yes. But it's not the type of artwork you would expect from Alex Ross. When you look at it inside, it's very much kind of penciled and it's basically it's a homage to Stan Lee. Kirby kind of artwork, but it's not the usual Alex painted style that we're used to seeing. I mean, look at that. There's the team panel there.
That's old school, isn't it? That one on the right looks very much like an.
It feels very 60s, very 70s, which is intentional. That's what it's meant to be. But it's still got Alex Ross touch. You can tell Alex was involved. Really good. 64 pages. I blasted through it in minutes. It's just a fun read. So
that's real cool, man.
Fantastic Four. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to Fantastic Four as well. So much so that I went back and watched the previous 3 out of 4 films. I've watched the 3 that are available to watch legally. I haven't watched the Roger Corman version yet. But I went back and watched the 2 Tim Story films and then Miles Teller film.
Fan 4 stick.
Yeah.
trying one. Do you think that's
Well,
similar about the sort of Snyderverse that they really tried with that one to make it sort of edgy and modern and technical and things like this?
It was based on the Ultimate series that was out around about that time. The Fantastic Four were younger. They didn't have the same origin, which was weird. But it could have worked. But apparently, last minute the director went cookie bonkers,
Josh Trank was insane.
Yeah.
And I think you can see if you watch it, you can see where he, or certainly watching. I've only watched it once because I hated it so much. But when you watch, and to the point I call it fan four stick, because I think that's what the cool kids call it to try and separate themselves from like it actually being anything to do with the Fantastic Four. But it feels like two separate movies. There's like the first 45 minutes is a very intriguing science drama about like, oh my god, these guys are, and like when it gets to what should be the cool superhero stuff, it's shit. It's like really bad,
and it's rushed
because it was all cut and refilmed.
Yeah.
I remember first watching it and pausing it. I remember pausing it to go to the toilet when I first watched it, and it was just as Doctor Doom showed up. Paused it, and then realised, on Sky, when you used to pause things on Sky, it told you how much viewing time you had left. Yeah. There's like 17 minutes left. I'm like, what?
Yeah. I felt like that movie was less than 90 minutes, wasn't it? It was.
Yeah.
It's very weird, especially when you watch the first two as well. The first Fantastic Four, 102 minutes. That's including opening and credits. And Rise of the Silver Surfer, the second one, which has Silver Surfer, Doctor Doom, and Galactus, is even shorter. It's 96 minutes long, including credits. And it's like,
that's very
wow.
Very
so
short.
hopefully this time, Galactus gets this.
The only way is up, like
fingers crossed.
The first one annoys me because I get really annoyed, and they've done it. Marvel are guilty of this as well. I get really annoyed in a superhero movie when the superhero causes the issue that they didn't have to resolve. That annoys me quite a lot.
Yeah, but on the bridge, yeah.
Folk are clapping. You're like, well done for solving an issue that you caused. It's like, and then the second one, I do enjoy the Rise of the Silver Surfer more, but then they made it was the era of. It was funny, like superhero movies went through an era of making their baddies a big cloud when they couldn't work out how to do it properly, and they did that in the Rise.
Well, that came from the Ultimates universe.
Green Lantern did the same thing.
In the Ultimates universe, comics-wise, there was a thing where Galactus was a cloud of nanobots.
Yeah.
So I think they borrowed that from there.
And the Fan Four stick that came from, that was the era of big blue lights in the sky. And every action movie, superhero movie of that time had to have like a light shooting into the sky.
Lens flare and things like that.
Exactly. Like J.J. Abrams. That's what it is. It's
J.J. Abrams. Star Trek 2009 lens flare. Yep. Lens flare everywhere. It's a surprise on the Enterprise could see. Everyone in Enterprise should be wearing sunglasses because they'd be like, hell. They're effective lens flare.
It was so prevalent in that first Star Trek movie. I remember staying in a hotel last year with Sonny, and it was on the telly, and even Sonny clocked it. He's like, that camera keeps like reflecting. It was like, it's like, sorry, it's just.
I'll die on this hill. Those movies were so good.
They're amazing, man. But just.
That first one I saw 5 times at the cinema, and I've seen it multiple times since then. It's still good. It's stupid. It's stupid. It's good.
Yeah. Stupid. Yeah, the second one's even more stupid because they did the thing where, everybody guessed it was Khan immediately. And then they spent 3 months going, it's no Khan, he's definitely no Khan. Don't worry. Like,
it's no Khan.
If you go in there thinking he's Khan, you're going to feel pretty fucking stupid.
And then Cumberbatch comes on screen.
Unexpected everybody go.
Nope.
Everybody in the cinema gone.
Yeah.
Okay. and then the third one. Right, we'll move on to our talk about Cobra Kai anyway. And then the third one, which is quite a good wee action movie. It felt like Fast and the Fury in space. And then it was like, I was like, oh, there was just that moment. There's one moment in the third one that is just the best 2.5 minutes of Star Trek ever, or amongst the two of it. Is that fucking the sabotage scene is just still makes me smile even just thinking about it. This is great. Where you're like, we killed an alien invasion using the Beastie Boys.
I absolutely love that.
It's a call back to the first film with playing sabotage in the car. Yeah. It's good.
I like to thank J.J. Abrams and Star Trek for bringing Beastie Boys back into my life as well, because
always been on my playlist. Beastie Boys and Nirvana have never left.
They do, like Intergalactic finds itself on every playlist of every software I download to listen to music. It's just like when I'm picking Sabotage and Intergalactic will always end up in a playlist. But no, after that first Star Trek movie, they popped up and like they're everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, and the MCU have used them countless times. You know, and then even though the Super Mario movie from last year brought out, there was they had No Sleep Till Brooklyn. Yeah, they have No Sleep Till Brooklyn. And one of the scenes they do like a Mario and Luigi are trying to race across New York to like get to a plumbing job, and it becomes like a side-scrolling scene where they're like, it looks like out of the game as they're trying to jump over like pipes and shit. And it's No Sleep Till Brooklyn by the Beastie Boys. It's great.
I'll get into that. I'm going to have to give that a look. I never got around to giving that a look. So.
Nah, sorry, man. The music's quite jarring, but it's a good film. The music, like it was just like somebody jumped into let's just pick as many good songs as we can.
They've got a lot right in those Star Trek movies. The casting was really, really good. The acting, you know, the storyline. The first one could be a little bit slow. Eric Bana, I don't know what it is, but Eric Bana, he's like, you know, you'll go into Marvel, you'll go into Star Trek, we're going to we're going to do everything, but we're going to make it just a little bit slower, a little bit more drawn out. Eric Bana just must be. He did the Troy movie, he did the Hulk movie, he did, you know. I like Eric Bana.
I like him. Time Traveler's Wife. He was in that. Yeah, he was good. I like Eric Bana.
Funny people. That's Andrew.
Funny people.
He is in Funny People. It's a great movie. Yeah. That was like you were like, oh, is Adam Sandler doing good movies again? No, it was just that one movie.
Munich, that was a lot of fun. Remember Munich?
Oh, Munich was. I went on a date to see Munich. Like it was like second or third date. I was like, oh, it's a Spielberg movie, and I remember sitting watching it with this girl who just didn't know what she was like. Well, holy fuck! I'm on a date, and this guy's taking me on a date to watch a movie about fucking the most horrific subject material ever. So I was watching it. I was like, but I suppose that's the same with Steven Spielberg. If you take a date to a Steven Spielberg film, you could get Catch Me If You Can. You could get Jurassic Park, or you could get Schindler's List.
We'll do a duel.
The worst film I took a young lady on a date to was Jean-Claude Van Damme's Street Fighter.
Sure, that's a great date movie.
Date movie.
That's a top 5 goal. The best movies you've been to on a date.
Oh,
worst one was there was a movie with Kevin Costner. Everybody likes it. Kevin Costner in an action movie. We went to see a movie called Revenge.
Revenge.
That's good as fuck. It really is, and
it's slow AF. Yep, it's very bad.
I went on a date when I was like 17 to see the first Cars movie, and it was like genuinely like second date or something, and it was just like, yeah, this is the wrong movie to see when you're trying to get to know somebody and you're like watching this fucking, and there's like kids running around the screen throwing popcorn at each other and stuff. So it's just like, do you want to go? Will we go and do anything else?
You're 17. You should be going to sit in a park and drink cider, or
exactly.
Go to the bowling or something like that.
Right. Let's talk about Cobra Kai, because I know John's super busy, and wanted us to keep it tight.
Cool. We're going to do it. Okay. We're going to talk about what was good about it or what was bad about it. Where do you want to start?
Well, how about we start with overall opinions of at least like the last 5 episodes, and then we can do like our thoughts on the whole thing overall. That's all right.
I enjoyed the last 5. I felt some of the side characters didn't get much play. So the younger kids didn't appear a lot.
Yeah.
Talking, you saw them like on the sidelines, sometimes for maybe 2 seconds, and that was it. It was like maybe the story done the first 10 episodes, and then just there as background filler. That was a little bit odd for me. But other than that, I thoroughly enjoyed the last episodes.
I totally agree.
Absolutely bonkers. Just like the whole show itself, just had no right to be as good as it was, and it was just a thing into what I thought was a great show.
My thoughts exactly. I generally thought, some of the younger kids, like obviously your mainstays, your Miguel's and stuff, still got screen time, but all of a sudden, like I want to think
Kenny and
Kenny and
who they brought in quite, Kenny and the other female character who wasn't Tori or
Devin.
Evan.
Yeah.
They sort of built him up like in the first few episodes when they were trying to get to the Senpai Takai, and then just like completely ignored them this time around.
Same with Anthony as well. I actually forgot Anthony was there until the very last episode. He cuddles his sister in the airport, and I'm like, oh yeah, he was a guy that was in this show as well.
Yes, Penis Breath was hardly in it. Penis Breath.
Yeah.
Hardly in it. But even the bigger ones, Hawk and Hawk and
Dimitri. So he was literally getting off his girlfriend during the final massive end of show confrontation. He was in that cupboard with his bird.
Yeah.
It's fair though, all I'm saying.
I actually also think it was one of the most unbelievable things was Hawk and Dimitri's, the hotness level of their girlfriends, how those two guys would get those hot girlfriends, and it just wasn't believable for me. But then
they became ultimate badasses. So
they
became ultimate badasses. So
this week I found out Hawk actually in real life, Hawk's partner is the girl who played Tori.
Yeah, he goes out with Peyton, doesn't
he? For years, yeah.
Son, well and Robbie and Thingy got engaged this week as well.
Who's Robbie Danes?
Robbie and Mary Mouser and
oh yeah, okay.
I can't remember the guy who played Robbie Tile or something.
Yeah,
got engaged this week, so that's nice for them. But I think I agree with you, John. They stuck the landing well. The most jarring thing for me was the Kreese storyline. I didn't think he needed redeemed. I think he was a bad guy for so long. It was quite a surprise in sort of second season when they did his backstory and they sort of presented him as having been this really quite nice guy when he was younger, but he became the bad guy.
Yeah.
It didn't seem believable to me that he would suddenly turn and become the good guy again.
Well, I was gonna bring that up. Was that sudden? Because I imagine if you watched the whole of season 6 in its entirety, actually it was the combination of like that guy dying and and there was that like that's kind of how I read it. I was like, well, actually, it took a kid dying under his tutelage was maybe and then he would, unless I'm maybe going into it to try and find whether that was because I felt it was quite a jarring sudden character change for him. But then if you look back at what's happened to his character even in just season 6, you're like, well, actually he's trying to build up a gym under his vision, and it got a kid killed, and the only other person in his life that he's ever loved, or one of the only other people in his life that he's ever loved, fucking despises him because of how he I thought the scene with which I thought was funny because it wasn't anywhere iconic. It was literally in a hallway, But like when Kreese and Johnny just went at it, and he was just like, and like I thought when John because the whole Cobra Kai thing almost started off as a joke about the tournament, and it actually I found that really powerful scene to be really powerful, where it was like actually it wasn't that him losing the tournament that ruined Johnny. It was Kreese turning his back on him immediately afterward. You know, I was like, oh, it's always, if you take a step back and think about it from that, you're like, you know, he's had a shit upbringing, Johnny, and he had a father figure who then abandoned him when he, in a moment of weakness. You know, it was like, yeah, I thought that was really cool. I thought by the end of it, I was like, Kreese is the man.
I think the character, like the actor who plays him, is very well thought of. Like everybody loves him. Apparently, he's a big pussycat of a guy on set. I think they just wanted to give him a better send off than he was sort of getting. But it didn't quite ring true for me, having watched the character over 40 years almost.
Me.
It was very much like kind of the Darth Vader type thing, wasn't it? You started off the bad guy, and then all of a sudden, in Return of the Jedi, you see him go, Darth Vader turned good, and that's like a parallel. I thought all of a sudden it was Ricky, but then obviously the last 5 episodes, they're not right after the tournament. There's like a month, 5-6 weeks in between all that time. So things have had time to percolate. And I thought it was a deserved twist.
The thing for that would be Karate Kid 3, though. You know, Karate Kid 3 had time to let it percolate and what had happened. You know, it's no big deal. The lad, they won it. I'm just going to let it go and go on with my life. No, I'm going to get my old, I'm going to get my old Vietnam buddies together, and we're going to find a fucking psychopath in Mike Barnes, and we're going to try and ruin this kid's life.
Yeah, that's just an issue with Karate Kid 3, though, isn't it? Karate Kid 3 is fun, but it's fucking dreadful on a story beat. Like Mr. Miyagi's supposed to be this whack. Like I always, when I watched Karate Kid Part 3 a couple of years ago with Sean, I was like, Mr. Miyagi's supposed to be this old wise master. It's like, did he ever look at Mr. Miyagi's little trees and think that was a successful business strategy? Like we're going to open a fucking bonsai tree shop in a really shit neighborhood. It's like, it was never going to work. But
like I say, we'll go into all the other bits, but that sort of didn't fit with me.
Yeah.
Everything else, having them go back to representing Cobra Kai instead of representing Miyagi-Do, the show's called Cobra Kai. That worked. Having Miguel have to step in at the last minute and take over and become the sort of Senpai Takai champion, because he was, fundamentally, he was the Karate Kid of this.
Yeah.
The show. I know that there was like a more Robbie thing, but I think most people were Team Miguel. Sort of slightly away from expectations, having Tori win instead of
Samantha.
Samantha.
I thought that was done really well as well. I thought that was very in keeping with her character and her family's. Like, I think they represented. I thought that was clever. I thought that she represented everything that Miyagi-Do was in that moment, where she was like, actually, I don't need to win to be successful. That's actually I thought I can take success from withdrawing, which I thought that's fucking clever.
Tori needed to win for her own character to be able to move on. I think the writing was so good. The writers,
I did like that last episode. The writing.
You see their cameo.
What one?
The writer's cameo.
Oh no! Oh yeah, is that right at the end?
Very end.
The two guys
Back to the Future, yeah.
Discussing a Back to the Future thing, and they're saying Quentin's on board and things like that.
I did love the whole, like, they kept raising the stakes, and that's always been what Cobra Kai does. And I think very funnily, like they've always managed to make every season they've managed to find a way to raise the stakes, and then even just bring it, like, probably my favorite thing of the whole thing, and I don't know if it's just how I've always connected to the series in general, bringing it back to Johnny, because there has been parts where, like, I think it's at season 4 when they're all fighting Silva's goons, and basically Johnny's fighting 3 of I think he even makes a joke about it. So it's like, I fought 3 of the world's best ninjas, and then he's doing all right. He's doing all right, but he is fighting 3 ninjas, and then Mike Barnes comes in at the end and gets the winning shots, and Johnny kind of turns around. I don't know if I overread into it or thought it was too meta, but I read that as Billy Zabka looking at the camera and going like, "Fucking, I did all the work." I love that it came back to Johnny.
Having Mike Barnes do that again, though, do you think this more than anything, this one was a show about redemption?
Yeah.
of characters, because all these characters who were the bad guys in the story starts, Kreese from the first one, Chozen from the second one, and then Mike Barnes from the third one. They all redeemed themselves during the course of the thing, and were sort of presented as guys who had made these decisions at this time of their life and went on to be good guys. Apart from Terry Silver, who's the closest thing to a sort of cartoon villain that we had in this sort of show. You know, he's a multi-millionaire businessman, 35 years on, but he's like, I have to destroy this guy's life because, you know,
he's the only one that never came away with a win ultimately as well, and that was his obsession, wasn't it? You know, he's the only one that, even I know Kreese died. Spoilers for anyone that's not seen fucking the show yet, but I assume you would be watching this if you had. But even Kreese, you know, he got his redemption in death. You know, he did it. Yeah. I thought that was quite cool. Like, even when they died, you know, it wasn't like most shows would have had a really dramatic Kreese's funeral scene before they went. You know, they didn't do that. Like, actually, his actions are unknown. Nobody will.
You know, there was that moment where they were like, "Well, where's Terry Silver? Why isn't he here?" But there was no like, "Where's John Kreese?" or anything like that.
I mean, he fucking saved the day. You know, he went off. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think.
Are you shooting there, John? Is that you? Okay, my man. Yeah. See you soon.
Overall, like I said, they stuck the landing very, very well, I think.
I thought so too. Yeah, I think it was great. As I say, bringing it back to Johnny was I did think it was funny. As I said, they keep raising the stakes, and then there was just that moment where it was like the actual karate tournament was over, and they're like, no, we've got one more episode to finish this season, and it's going to get Johnny up in the fight.
Because in my head, I was doing the thing. I was like, right, they need, you know, can you knock him out now? Because that'll be 10 points, and if you do that, they'll be tied. And I was like, you know, everyone was so surprised, but I was like, no, they're tied. What have they got to do now? Going to count back or something like that. Then,
this junior karate championship is going to get decided on their senses. It's so funny.
Say, Johnny had to win the final fight.
Yeah,
and then that's Ken to sort of fulfill, you know, to join that circle from the first Karate Kid movie, where you know, he'd lost the fight, and that was sort of overpowered his life for the following 30 years. He won in the end against a guy who's an actual martial artist as well. I've seen that guy training and things like that.
It's so good. It was just and I like that Johnny. You know, I think my only complaint of Cobra Kai of any kind was that whole the friendship between Daniel and Johnny was played out, and it was like just when you thought, oh, they've sorted it out, they always found another way to put a rift between them, and by the end of it they were like, nah.
Again or something like that.
But by the end of it they were mates, you know, and they were genuine friends who understood each other, and like actually, you know, to the point like Daniel was a witness at Johnny's wedding, and you know, it was just so nice. And that
the final, because the rift between them, and it was from the first episode of this, was the difference between Cobra Kai karate and Miyagi-Do karate. And the fact that they're both training the same people now, because they both realised that there can't be one of them in isolation.
Yeah.
You've got the sort of centred neutrality and defensive capabilities in Miyagi-Do, and you've got, you know, the outright no mercy, strike first, strike hard of Cobra Kai. Neither one would have won if these people had only trained under the one of them. They wouldn't have won, but because they trained two styles.
Even Johnny, he in part won his final fight by using Miyagi-Do techniques.
I expected him to do a cane kick. I was there.
I thought he was at least going to do I thought he was going to at least do the stance, you know, or something like. But it was so good. And even at the end, like, I really loved that final scene where he's got his new school, and he's like still being a bit of an asshole, and he's like, you know, like picking that person out, you know, get shades, get contacts, but don't ever come back into my dojo with those glasses on.
He's picking the kids, he's giving them rubbish nicknames. Learning their real names.
But I loved how he rewrote. Well, he didn't rewrote. He reinterpreted the strike hard, strike fast, no mercy. He explained what they meant, but he meant it in, like, you know, and it's like a total reinterpretation, which I was like,
take your chances in life, take your chances and things like this. Don't hesitate, things like this. Yeah.
Oh, good, great show. Well, what did you? I only want to talk about it because we hit about it anyway. There's a lot of online discourse about like whether they did the Uncanny Valley Mr. Miyagi properly or not. I had no problem with it. I had no problem with it at all, and
I had no problem with it. And as long as Pat Morita's family and stuff like that were okay with it, then I'm okay with it. I don't think it should be like. I think it's a bad precedent to set CGIing dead actors into things, because it's it's come a long way since Rogue One when we had
Peter Cushing, didn't they?
Yeah, Peter Cushing and Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, I thought it was alright, and I think they did it he was only really in like dream sequences, and my understanding is they did ask his family. And also my understanding is that Ray, the guy that plays Daniel, whose name I can never get his name properly. Ralph. I believe he also, obviously he's a producer on the show, and I think he made a point of it being like, it has to be done this way. We can't do it. We can't do it in flashback to that. It needs.
You don't want to flashback to scenes which weren't seen with Mr. Miyagi and just have it a CGI'd one. No, it was kind of ethereal. They used them briefly. They sort of there was that plot that they sort of resolved as to why he beaten somebody up and stolen a necklace and things like this, which I'd almost forgotten about. I'll be honest with you, from the previous scene.
It's funny that Daniel did just ask his mum anyway. If you just gone, Mum, do you know anything about this necklace? She would have been like, oh yeah.
I can't believe he was arrested. You'll never believe this. He was arrested. Oh yeah, it had to do with a necklace. It was his wife's necklace that this guy's. All right, okay, actually, he is the good guy. But he says, I thought, it was. The CGI is still not quite there yet, but I think I didn't want to see much of that going forward.
No.
It worked as a kind of a dream sort of sequence.
So good. One of my favorite shows ever, and I'm glad it finished strong. Like the first couple of seasons, it was like I couldn't believe how good it was. It was totally like just all I wanted to watch. So I'm really glad that
I didn't feel like there was any dip. Like possibly once it started to get a wee bit more ridiculous with international people involved, and we're going to get some ninjas in and things like this. Just to win, the equivalent of the Fourth Valley karate tournament. It's just like
I always felt that a bit. And like you mentioned earlier about Silva being just like this cartoon baddie, and he was the only he was probably the weakest link.
He was a very one-dimensional character.
Yeah, but they never really ever attempted to add any depth to him either. And that's maybe if I had a complaint. But then ultimately, some folk are just assholes as well. And I think that was his like.
They'd established John Kreese in season 2 when they did his backstory and showed him in Vietnam, and he was he turned. It gave you a better understanding of the character.
Yeah,
I think that's why people were willing to accept his redemption at the end. But Silva never had that. He was just a bad guy. Mike Blair was a bad kid with attitude who grew up into a normal guy. You see that all the time. You see kids who start off in gangs and things like this, and then they discover boxing and they become pillars of the community. Who own furniture shops that are subsequently bombed and burned down, things like that.
Cobra Kai was amazing. Definitely.
One of my favorite. There's absolutely no doubt that I will rewatch that from the beginning again at some point. Down the line.
Well, you've got that whole thing as well. Like Sonny's been watching all the Star Wars movies. He's up to Empire Strikes Back now, and having quite funny conversations actually about how he hadn't realised, because he's so young, he's only 9. Like he just didn't realise like that the release. He's young enough to not notice the differences between the 1974 and the 1999, 1977 and 1999. Like for us, whereas we grew up, you grew up with the original trilogy, and I grew up with the prequels, knowing that they were that. But like he's now old enough. Like he was 4 when they brought out the last Star Wars movie. So for him, they're just 9 movies, you know.
Yeah, they can watch them episode 1 to episode 9 as they were not meant to be viewed.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, that watching them that way, you get you know the biggest moment, the biggest what the fuck moment in Star Wars is the "No, I am your father."
Yeah, but you know that if you watch
if you watch them from episode 1 onwards, then there isn't that moment.
Even like Rogue One, we watched Rogue One last week, and I hadn't realised it was Sunday that worked it out because me and Claire were kind of smiling and like winking at each other about the whole because he knew that "I am your father" thing. We didn't know the Leia thing, you know. And then when at the end of Revenge of the Sith, even at the end of Revenge of the Sith, when they have 2 babies, Sonny was like, "So if Luke Skywalker is the baby that gets left on the sand planet Tatooine, who's the girl?" And I was like, actually, you know, he's got till Revenge of the Sith to work that out. Not Revenge of the Sith, or Return. He won't work that out till Return of the Jedi. But then fucking they blow it in Rogue One. You know, at the end of Rogue One when you see the same actor who played, I'm bad with actor names. The same actor who
Jimmy Smits.
Yeah.
As Bail Organa.
Yeah, he says like, I need to go back to Alderaan, you know, and then the leader of the Rebel Council is like, do you trust this? Do you trust her? And he's like, I trust her with my wife. And then Sonny was like, oh, that's the guy that took the baby girl. And then obviously when it's Princess Leia at the end, he was like, he shot Sonny just looked at me. He's like, oh, is Leia the other baby? I was like,
you didn't get them unless you watched them as they were made, which is how they should be watched.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah, but my point there was we can now do that with the whole Cobra Kai thing. There's now a fucking Karate Kid verse, so you can watch all 3 Karate Kid movies and then watch all of Cobra Kai. It's amazing, and then obviously we're getting the new movie in the summer as well, which you can't do with things which are still ongoing. Yeah, because you don't know what's going to be at. Like I've been watching the Shorzy verse. The Shorzy verse. The Shorzy verse is my absolute favorite verse.
My absolute favorite verse. I've just finished Letterkenny last week.
Oh, I'm nowhere near finishing Letterkenny.
I was actually going to mention this earlier on. You know when we were talking about Christopher Reeve.
Yeah.
Because Jared Keeso, like if you look at Shorzy and you look at Wayne, you would not think they're the same guy.
It's so different, yeah.
Because Wayne never smiles. And Shorzy's constant. Constant. And just the way he holds himself, everything about him. And you know, you talk about watching through again, we'll be able to watch it through again. I have watched the entirety of Shorzy through twice. In less than 3 weeks. Like I watched it.
So good.
I've watched it through again, and season 4's up now, and I've got 1 episode to watch. I'm waiting for the last one to drop, and I'm going to do the final 2. Might be my favourite show of all time.
Oh, it's got me into ice hockey, which I never thought. Me and Sonny are going to go and see Kilmarnock Thunder versus Kirkcaldy Kestrels on Saturday. It's so good. So we went to see Kilmarnock Thunder a couple of weeks ago because I tried to get us Five Flyer. So I'm tying my shoe as I'm talking to you. That's why I played forward. I was trying to get us to see tickets to see Glasgow Clan versus Edinburgh Five Flyers. It was like the cheapest ticket because it was like so late in the day was 30 quid. Huh. I was like, that's gonna be 60 quid for us, and you might not even like it. So I googled it, and like a lower level in Scottish hockey, where in Kilmarnock were playing, and we were in Glasgow anyway. So we went down to see Kilmarnock Thunder play Dundee. Yeah, it was senior wheel shit hockey. It was good. It was good fun, man. It was good fun. It was like 20 quid for us both again, and now Kilmarnock are coming up to Kirkcaldy, so Sonny's like, oh, can we go? It's like, yeah, fuck. Watch Kilmarnock get beat 10-1 again. It's gonna be great.
Hockey's like Elemental. I like
Shorzy is. Shorzy immense. Like,
I see. The second time around, I'm picking up so much more. Like the characters. Zeke and Meek, I didn't realise were sisters until the second time through.
I didn't until the second time through. I didn't clock the thing that he does. I don't know why I didn't pick that up the first time. When he just keeps interrupting people.
I thought he was saying Cecil all the time as well. You know, he does this thing where he says yeah, so.
Yeah.
You go, yeah, so. I thought he was saying Cecil all the time.
And he keeps interrupting people, and then it's not until
Goody,
I think season
only ever
3.
talks about food.
Yeah.
You don't know what they're sitting discussing. He's like, "Have you ever tried mozzarella? Mozzarella's incredible." And that's all he ever says is different variations on that.
Is that hot joke I never clocked until maybe the second time watching it, and I think Laura, the girl that he's trying to...
He knows when he's going to do it, so she does it at the same time.
She does it to him. I was like, oh, it's a thing that he does where he keeps interrupting. It's just so funny. Even, hiring like the most beautiful actresses in the world and then just making the joke that everybody in Sudbury is gorgeous.
Yeah. all these actors as well. Like, I didn't spot the Letterkenny actors who are in it. Obviously, Anik is there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you I don't actually, depending on where you are in Letterkenny, you might not really have come across Anik yet.
No, I don't think so.
Anika Chambaud she's in a season of Letterkenny as Daryl's girlfriend.
All right, okay.
But the two commentators, the French commentator, Raymond Lebeau and things like this, they're again Letterkenny actors. They're the two guys who are sort of, one of them is the co-creator of Letterkenny and things like that. And in Letterkenny, he plays the Mennonite character.
Yeah.
And the other one's Glenn, the pastor. And that's the two commentators who speak French all the time.
Yeah. It's something on clock, but it's so good. I didn't realise as well. Like, also, I didn't realise the connection.
They're all hockey players as well. See the team.
Yeah.
From the three gyms. Goody, Ted Hitchcock.
I fucking love Hitchcock. Like, Hitchcock's
amazing. They were all professional NHL hockey players.
Yeah.
If you think into them and look into their things, and a couple of them, like one of the gyms, the wee stocky one, was a known enforcer in hockey, like more fights and stuff like this. So you got these like genuine guys.
I don't know what's happening in season. I've always liked Hitchcock, but seeing the newest season, he's just coming to his own, and he's just so fucking funny. There's something that's like I couldn't quite explain it, and I had obviously we've all been so busy. I'm trying to that scene, and I videoed it, and I think I sent it to you. That scene in the karaoke bar where he's singing Alanis Morissette. It's just so funny. It's just so, but like I just cheesed for like straight through it. I was in such a.
It has moments like that just make me squeal with laughter sometimes. Whenever he cries, when they give him back the tea on his shirt, I was like, he just does that thing where he's like.
So you've not seen the last 2 episodes yet?
I've got one episode to watch, and I think the final one's tomorrow.
Yeah, the
last one I've seen was still the Kangaroo Court one.
Oh, it's so good. The one episode is it the one I watched where they're teaching the boy about how to do karaoke? Have you seen that one yet?
No.
Oh, so fucking good. That's so funny. Again, Hitchcock basically explaining how to win a girl over using karaoke, and it's just so stupid, but it's so like it makes sense in its own like total like it's like old its own. Shoresy way. It's just such a good show.
It's phenomenal. It's everything. Like I genuinely, it's my favourite sporting show of all time, and it's taken over from Ted Lasso like that.
Yeah.
Even though it's shorter and stuff like this, it's just it's frustrating that it's no easy to get in this country.
No, yeah.
You have to go to sort of slightly dubious means to get it, and it's no. I didn't even feel guilty because if I could get it here legally, I would buy the DVDs. I would buy. Yeah. I would subscribe to whatever channel had them.
I spent all night. I put a bid on a T-shirt on Vinted. There's a
Bulldogs.
It's Shores's jersey. It's Shores's jersey. I put a bid on yeah. It's the I'll see. I've still not got an update, but I'll show you.
You got all sorts of T-shirts now that set the tone ones and things like this. Oh yeah, the Sudbury Blueberry Bulldog. It's amazing.
Yeah. There's a like, yeah. It's just like even that joke as well. The blueberry joke is just hilarious when they're like, like
the different names they've come from. We're going to be now Pancetta Penguins, but the
prefer are all poodles and stuff like that. It's just so it's Just,
there's so many recurring jokes that again, until I watched it second time through, I didn't see these recurring jokes. And side characters are fucking brilliant. Jory Jordan. I want to be able to interview people like that. So how did it feel to be held back at school? Do you think that's the reason why you can't have kids?
It's so good. There was that episode the other day as well where it's like where Shorzy's quiet and all like he's obviously got that weird relationship with the kids he plays he refs hockey for. Yeah. And they're like they're digging at him. He spends like a good minute just like ignoring them, and you think, oh,
he's not going to bite. This time.
And then when he bites like harder than he's ever bit before. It's just so fucking hilarious.
That's Corey and Liam are the new Ryan Riley and Jonesy from Letterkenny. Because if you've not seen Letterkenny, he's in Letterkenny. Yeah. Like he's in. There's a complete season of Letterkenny where it's based around hockey. It's based around them winning a championship, and Shorzy's a really big part of that season. Yeah. And that's where JJ comes in. JJ Frankie JJ. And there's a great scene, which is the only scene till that point that Wayne and Shoresy were on screen at the same time.
Is it with the back of his head? Isn't it? It's like Jared's head.
The back of his head as he's chirping at Frankie and JJ. They sort of start to walk towards him because they've got to beat him up, and he does this.
It's so good, and it's so funny.
And then one of the Quebec guys calls him back because he sees Wayne standing, and these Quebec guys have always wear the same shirts. They always wear these blue check shirts, and he recognises Wayne, and he's like, "Oh no, hold on."
So we're talking about Shores and like talking about where are these guys just now? Like, so season 4, where's Sanguinet and where is
I don't know. Sanguinet's not been in it.
I've been googling it. I was like, has he been fired? I'm trying googling it to work out where these guys are, and all I can get is that they're not available because the season's filmed in the off season. Yeah, it's just they're not available. Because I was like, I fucking love like at first when I remember watching it and thinking Sanguinet's not the guy that plays him is not a great actor, but he's fucking brilliant. He's like maybe even like very early after about 2 episodes I was like, oh, he's brilliant. He's really really good. Like actually, but they moved to like obviously telling him to shut the fuck up. They've moved it on to Michael's instead.
Michael's is hilarious. Again, he has that redemption arc where the first time you see him he's a manager, he's rubbish, and then they have this scene where she goes to try and persuade him to become the goalie, and it should be like I was like, I gave up everything and things like this, and I don't know what to do, and this girl left me and stuff like this. But he's standing in underwear with his cock hanging out. And that's like.
Yeah. But just it's a little bit, so you say, giving everyone like having the gyms, even that every time he goes gym, gym, and then the third one always says something really insightful.
He's really eloquent. It's all like that. Gyms are such beauty. Few first seasons, this was the line. I love the gyms. The gyms are such beauties.
I love it. I've started using. I use Pear Patter at work as well.
Handsome man. They have this one scene where they're arguing about who's the ugliest, whether it's Hitchcock or Shoresy. It's so good. If anybody's watching this and aren't watching it, you should be.
Try and find it. It's great. I use Pitter Patter at work. Like
I want to use all these fucking Pitter Patter. I want to use give your balls a hug. Set the tone.
Set the tone. But I use Pitter Patter. Like just like come on, Pitter Patter. And none of my guys get it. None of the staff at work know what I'm talking about. No, that's that thing you always tell us to watch, Jeff.
I'd love to be able to use some of his chirps, but like in this day and age, you can't use, you tell your mum to stop fucking phoning me. I'm not getting I'm not getting tattoos. I'm not getting matching tattoos. Just the chirps. I just sometimes if I'm not doing anything else, I just go into YouTube and watch them over and over and over and over again.
Love it, but I watch a lot of. I like when Shores is trying to like, he's like, he's chatting Laura up, and he's just like, I just want to empty your dishwasher so bad, I would do. I could go on about this. I think it's an all-timer. Like it's genuinely one of the best TV programs ever made. And just a total
everything Jared Kiso does from now on. He's still a reasonably young guy, whatever hopefully we're going to get the same number of seasons of Shoresy as we did of Letterkenny, because they did about 11 seasons of that.
Yeah. I think it's only like watching Letterkenny and forgetting how good it is. Like I'm really early on in Letterkenny, so I've just got to the scene where they're I've got to the series where it's all kind of based in winter. It was like always So I've still got loads to go, and then all of a sudden the two hockey guys are now decent.
Yep.
Yeah.
You'll first see Anika Shambo. She'll appear. They do during the winter one. There's one where they go fishing.
Yeah.
And they meet the Quebec guys who are exactly the same as them.
No, I'm not that far in. This sounds great.
So they're wearing the thing, and there's a group of Quebec guys, and they're shouting at them, going, "Ah, ah!" But the Quebec guys have got like a Wayne, a Daryl, a Squiddly Dan, and a Katie, and their version of Katie is Anique. He's an actual comedian as well.
I don't know if you're the same as well, though. Like, I've been watching loads of I've seen loads of Letterkenny. Like, I'm watching it now, and there's bits I'm like, I've seen this because it's on Instagram. Where there's like, particularly the scenes where like Wayne, Dan, and Katie that are sitting around the fruit stall. Like they have these like when they just chirp at each other, and they're like,
and they just 5 minutes of the most like puns based on whatever they're tripping about. It was like that from the very first scene, from the very first episode, where Riley and Jonesy roll up and they have a go at Daryl, and they do this. That's nice dungarees you've got in there. Do they come in men's? And Daryl's like, I think you come in men's enough for all of us.
It's so good.
And they start that chirpy sort of thing right from the offset. I was like, this is going to be a show for me.
But I think that's how I discovered Letterkenny. It's definitely how I discovered Shoresy. I discovered Shoresy on like Instagram Reels or something, where it was like one of the locker room scenes.
Yeah.
The one where she comes in and he's like, what if one of us was naked? And he's like, and she's like, I would either puke at the sight of it or laugh at the size of it. And she walks away, and then Shoresy just goes, "Oh my god!" Like he's totally offended. And I was like, I need to find out what this is, because it's so, you have to go into the comments and like folk are going, "Oh, great show, I love it," and you're like, "Fucking, can somebody just say what this show's called so I can like, Google it?" Yeah.
I think I was the same. I think we talked about Letterkenny a few months ago, and we talked about Shoresy, and I started watching Letterkenny because I couldn't find Shoresy, and I think I forgot about Shoresy. And then he appeared in this thing, and I was like, and then something must have thingied me. But I saw these scenes, and it's like, you get to see his face. How'd you get to his face? That's for a TV show called Shoresy. There's a spin-off called Shoresy. And I found it and watched it. And
the rest is history.
I spent loads of time watching YouTube shorts of him chirping at hockey players when he's and just love it. Like I say, I could talk all night. We've probably been talking for 15-20 minutes about Shoresy. In the Cobra Kai special, we've spent more time talking about.
So if you finish Cobra Kai and you're looking for another sports-based comedy to sink your teeth into, you should check out Shoresy.
I cannot recommend Shoresy enough. It's absolutely phenomenal.
It's perfect. You up to anything this weekend? Anything exciting?
This weekend, it's England, Scotland this weekend. We haven't lost to England now for a considerable length of time, and as it goes on, it gets like the pressure gets bigger and bigger every year. I think it's like 7 years since England beat us. So we've had a one draw during that time. 2019, actually, I think it was 6 years. So that's my Saturday, and then probably football, I think, on Sunday. Although I have. Like, I know we talk about football, we do the cup. I worked at how much time I spend. Like, I'm a hopelessly, hideously unfit person, and I sort of looked at all the time I spend watching sport, and worked out that if I spent 50% of that doing something, like going for a walk instead of sitting watching sport, I would be considerably healthier than I am now.
Yeah, I'm the same, man. I'm exactly the same. I've got so unhealthy in the last 6 months of the year. I got really ill after I did a half marathon last year, and then I got really ill for about 3 months afterwards, and just never got it back. I got unill, but didn't get back to fitness. And I'm looking at it. I'm looking at fucking like Edinburgh. I've got a ball hockey team, so it's like ice hockey without the skates. I'm like, oh,
that's just field hockey, isn't it?
It is, but like. they all wear you wear the gear and you can like slam into each other and stuff. And
like, right, okay.
so I quite fancy giving that a go. And there's a team in Edinburgh that are looking for more players as we speak.
I was thinking now that I'm 53 this year, I was looking at walking football.
Oh yeah, man.
That's in Dunfermline on a Wednesday, and I was thinking about going along to that because I can't run because I'm fat as fuck. But
my dad does walking football. My dad was like all the way through my until I was about 25, all the way through like my teenage years and stuff. Like my dad was the ringer that you called when we were down a man for fives. Right. He would show up and he was just the best guy in the field by like a total mile, surrounded by hopeless teenagers. In fact, my dad just shouting at us and keeping us together. But that's you now. That's us.
Yeah, that's me now. I was doing walking rugby for a while, but then I got injured.
Yeah.
But you can do walking rugby at McCain. But I was thinking I've got to do the walking football.
That's a great idea, man.
Try and get into a team and just try like for the camaraderie, for a bit of sport, and as I say, I'm trying to avoid. I'm trying to make wee changes in my life because it's easy to get a wee bit depressed at the moment about how the world is going. I don't get serious about it or anything like that, but the world's gone to shit. So if you just watch Shoresy and play sports and read comics, you can sort of get away from it.
Yeah, that's the plan, man. That's my plan for this year. That's something as well, like ball hockey. I'm going to speak to my boss tomorrow night, Wednesday nights, in just outside Edinburgh, near my airport, actually. Yeah. I'm like, if you put me on a cheeky 9 to 5, I could go straight to hockey practice.
Get yourself in senior Welsh. Can you skate?
No, but it's without skates. So it's just
sorry, I'm joining a Welsh, joining a Brew League.
I don't know if I could, but when it could do that if I want to. I think I would. Like, part of me even wants to lose a fucking tooth. I think I would look right.
Jan Kiso had a tooth taken out. Like all the rest of the guys, Goody and Hitchcock and stuff like that, they've had them knocked out because that's just part of hockey. Jared Kiso had an actual tooth removed so that he looked the part. That's devotion for you, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, that's all good, man. Yeah, let me know how walking rugby goes or walking football goes, man. That's great. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I'm going to be going with that. It's Wednesdays, so and I would be out playing football rather than being in the house watching football, watching torrid fucking 2-2 draws against Aston Villa or Everton.
Well, we've got another podcast that Tom's been asking me when we're getting the next one up and going. We want to talk about like are Liverpool starting to slow down?
Do a lot of draws. Save it for that one. But 13 games since the start of the year. I think they've got 6 draws.
Yes.
They're still undefeated away from home and they're not losing games in the league and things like this. But
you just see that it keeps creeping, can't you?
Well, I look at now. People are saying, we're still don't worry about it. We're still 8 points clear. We're 8 points clear with a game in hand. Or not with a game in hand. Arsenal have got a game in hand. If Arsenal win that, then the gap's 5 points. We've got Manchester City this weekend. We could easily lose that one. And then the gap's 2 points. And then the final day of the season, I think Liverpool play Arsenal. Yeah. And if the gap then is 2 points, that becomes a winner-takes-all cup final. On the last
you still got Nottingham Forest pulling in points as well. So
yeah, Aston Villa are sitting. They're only like 4 or 5 points off a top 5 Champions League football next year. So these teams have all got something to play for. And what I said last night as well. See when you support Liverpool, you never. Every team you play, it's like a cup final for them. A draw would be the equivalent of them winning a cup because they just play out of their skin to try and win that game. You never get. Aston Villa drew against Ipswich at the weekend. On paper, we should be absolutely fucking pumping them.
Yeah.
I don't know if you watched that game last night, but
no, I didn't.
Aston Villa on a decent side with a decent attacking line. We shouldn't be talking about this. This is definitely a brew for the terrace. Aye.
We'll get Tom together and get that sorted soon. Then.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome, right, guys. Thank you for joining us. Have a good week. I'm going to see Captain America on Saturday with Sonny and Sean, and then me and Sonny are going to go play ice hockey on Saturday night, and then working Sunday. If you're about on Sunday afternoon, we can maybe grab a pint. I I finish at 12. So
think I am. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe, bro. Oh, okay, awesome. We'll
Okay.
try soon. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.